Dr. Mel, and welcome to another edition of Dr. Mel's Message. Now, have you ever heard the term hiding in plain sight? Well, I know I have, and I just absolutely love this title of the book that we're actually going to get to know the author about today. His name is Tom Lebrun. Welcome, Tom, and welcome to Dr. Mel's Message.
Hey, how are you doing? It's great. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I love talking to other authors, and I love having my viewership get to know not only you, but a lot about your book. So let's start off and tell me just a little bit about who is Tom?
Let's see, Tom Lebrun is a man that's driven to succeed in many avenues of my life and trying to motivate and inspire people. Of course, that started a number of decades ago, but I found that by writing my book, it has done just that, given some messages of inspiration, of blessings, of being fortunate, and certainly motivation and so forth. And it's helped me reconnect with many people. So I feel very blessed in that respect. Yes.
Now, I want to talk about just a little bit. I mean, the title of the book, the complete title, is Hiding in Plain Sight, My Life and Adventures Protecting Celebrities. There we go. Boy, that was a tongue twister there for a minute. What celebrities have you protected?
Early on, I was with the New Kids on the Block, one of their last world tours, 1991, 92. From there, I went to work for Elton John. Then Whitney Houston, I became her head of security back in the mid 90s. That was a very special job. And amongst others would be Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, and so forth. So each one of them had very special meaning in what I did for them, and built a great relationship with all these people. So it's good.
Well, a lot of people may or may not know this about me, but I've worked in not only television and film, but of course I'm also an author. But in the film aspect of it, I have had my fair dealings with A-listers and everything. And I've actually had to, when I was helping produce films, hire bodyguards and security personnel, just like yourself. How did you get into this area?
I think it went way back to my school years in high school. There was always bullies making fun of the nerds and so forth. And certainly I was a nerd, but I was also very athletic. And I was approached and said, so-and-so has been picking on me, and can you tell him to stop? I'm like, sure. So I'd walk up to the person and say, quit picking on, this gentleman. And he said, why, what are you going to do, beat me up? And I go, probably, but just quit picking on him. And I never had any fights at all. I'm very much more a pacifist than anything. But then I saw the need that some people just couldn't take care of themselves. And as time went on, I was hired for special events and places with entertainment, and worked the doors and so forth. And people that wanted things secured would give me a call. And then labor disputes, I get called for those to protect the executives on the receiving end of the strikes and so forth. And it's just started to happen for me, and that there was a need for the services that I could provide. And that did not go without intense academics and study in the security world and so forth to make myself as good or better than most. And so physical training has been a big part of my life. But at the same time, it's the academics that have gotten me to where I am today, really studying the trade craft, if you will. So it's just been an evolution through my years of living and having something to offer people.
I love part of your book description when you refer your message with your dad, where you say, one day I want to fly around the world, protect people.
Right.
That was a calling from a very young age.
Yeah, I was 5 years old then. And,
5 years old. And you knew then that that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I had the Superman outfit on, and it's in the book. And I said to Dad, I want to fly around the world, protect people. I was really serious. I mean,
You were
5 years.
serious.
And he said, yeah, sure you are. And it stuck with me, being the good guy, being the protector. And I'm not a big man, but, I just do the job, and I make sure that people are safe. And I take a lot of pride in that, and have had very few problems, and nobody's ever been taken from me at all. So I guess I have a good record.
Wow. Well, let me ask you this. What are we going to find inside your book?
You'll find a story. You'll find a adventure of my growing years and how I got that work ethic in everything that I did. You will find some of the challenges that I've had. I've been injured. I've had some early childhood injuries that I came over, having a fractured skull at age 6 years old, getting hit by a car, and I wanted just to keep working out at that early age, and I became an athlete. And how I kind of saw one article in a comic book. It said, Charles Atlas said, I don't want to would you like to get sand kicked in your face? Well, no. So I had to kind of look at this ad, and it's in the book. This ad is actually in the book. So a lot of humor in there, some family stuff, how I grew up with 5 siblings, how I took care of my parents later in life when they just passed a few years ago. So it's a story about me as a person, me as a security individual, me as a athlete in the martial arts and so forth. So I've had many people read it from different outlooks in life, and everybody gets a different message from it. They go, I love your story. It really held my heart. Or, boy, you really did that well in the martial arts. You keep advancing and so forth. And how did you do those strongman things? And so my whole life within the world of being that Steve Reeves, when he played Hercules way back there in 1959, 1960. And those things inspired me as a young man. And I just wanted to be like that, I suppose.
And you wanted to be like that. Well, number one, I do want to congratulate you because you earned the In Book of the Year awards for outstanding nonfiction. So congratulations on that. What was that process like, and how did you find out that you were even an award winner?
I was steered towards a certain award show, and it's a book award program, and it said a Book of the Year award. I said, well, my book's been doing pretty good. I'm going to enter it, and hopefully they'll find some meaning in the book. And I put some press releases in the book and mailed it to them, and a little letter. And lo and behold, it surprised me because I didn't hear anything for a while. And then all of a sudden it came on, you won the Book of the Year. I'm like, wow, okay. So I was really, really pleased. And it's just been, 2021 was just a wonderful year in writing the book and getting it out there, and getting my message out there to many different individuals, and had a speaking engagement and a book signing in Las Vegas, and different things. It's just been, I always use the word blessed and fortunate that these things happened, and it happened for a reason, I guess. People kept telling me, well, you've been to all these countries, why don't you just write a book? And I'm like, okay. So I wrote a book.
Did you have a lot of struggles getting this book, not only just written, but published?
No. Writing the book was probably the easiest process of the whole thing. I had letters in the book, and you asked the question of what can we find in the book.
Right.
In the book is many letters that have been given to me over the years. So as I'm writing the book, I'm taking these letters and saying, I'm going to add these letters into the different time zones of my book, so people can't say I've embellished something. And each of these letters supports the different time zones. Tour managers, chiefs of police, patrolmen, government officials, people from England and Rio de Janeiro and so forth. So each one of these letters are in the chapters of how I impacted them when I did my job or my work in their countries. So as I put it all together, then the hard part came in far as editing, getting it edited so people can not only say, I really liked your story and it was well read, an easy read, but it was also well written. And that was one of our biggest goals, to have a well-written book. And people can't say, wow, you misspelled such and so forth. So we met all those goals. And then I located a self-publishing company called Book Baby. And they said, we can do this, this, and this for you. I'm like, great, let's go for it. Mm-hmm. So gave it to them, the manuscript, and they worked with me very, very, very well. And I'm very pleased that I went with them. And they got it on Amazon, and they got it, they have their own site on bookbaby.com. And then I saw how it was being distributed through like Barnes and Nobles and Walmart and Target and other places. And I sometimes felt a little bit overwhelmed, but in a good way. And it was kind of surreal as to that I wrote a book and this book is going all over the place, so.
Now, this is your first book, correct?
That's correct. So
do you have another book happening somewhere in your mind that's going on right now?
The second book's almost done. It's called Sticks and Stones, and it's an action thriller. It's a fiction novel about two people that are protectors. And there's a woman in the book. She's having a relationship with one of the guys. So there's some romance in there. There's some funny humor, but it's an action thriller, like a Tom Clancy type book. And so I'm almost done the manuscripts now. And,
awesome. Sounds exciting.
Yeah, so it'll be about 250, 260 pages. So basically it'll be my first novel. I don't count my autobiography as a novel. It's a story.
Right.
Yeah, so that's exciting too. So 2021 ended and 2022 is off with a bang, so we're really pleased with that. So yeah.
Now, let's talk about your target audience for this book. Who should pick up this book and read it?
Anybody and everybody can read the book. I would say that people that are excited about my life as the bodyguard, protecting people, they'll find it very fascinating. And I've gotten some good reviews from different book organizations, online book and readers and so forth. They've given me some great reviews and just said that the way the story was told, it wasn't overwhelming in one area or another, and that I put together a very real story about what I've done, and people know who I am after reading the book. And at the end, and so it's for everybody, people that are involved with, let's say, working out. In the book, I've done things that most people would think are impossible. And so that's in there with documentation to say, yeah, I was there when Tom did this. So there's a lot of that motivation. So it's for anybody and everybody. And then I've got a huge audience now of 18-year-olds all the way up to 80-year-olds that and male and female. And so,
well, that's got to be very exciting right there in itself to reach that, many, type of age groups, number one.
Right.
Now, when you go to sit down and write, let's talk about your own writing habits for a minute. What do you do?
Good question. Once sometimes I get a thought in my head and I have to say, well, excuse me, I'm with, when I'm sitting with my girlfriend, I'll say, excuse me, I have to go back on the computer. And I have to put that thought in there, whether or not it's correct spelling or whatever, get that thought in there at that time or write it down somewhere. And then I start putting it all together. So that's what I did with the first book. I had all these letters and storylines, and I knew my life as to how I grew up. And I just kept writing and writing and writing. And And then all of a sudden I look down and I've got, 200-300 pages worth of writing down there, so I very, very seldom on the first book did I have any writer's block. And it took me 11 months to write the book. And then it took us 2.5 months of every single day editing it.
Oh, and trust me, I'm a professional editor. I know what it takes to edit. And let me tell you, that is tough, And I always recommend to authors, never edit your own book. And I have over 100 books myself, and I do my own editing, but then I hire my editors too.
Right. Yeah, I use typically for myself, I use Grammarly Premium. So they give me a lot of ideas of sentence spelling, commas, and so forth. I don't claim to be an English major. So I listen to what they have to say, and I can do it as I'm typing. So at the end of the day, like on the first book, I didn't discover Grammarly until the end. So we had 4,000 errors.
Oh, Lord.
We took turns getting in there. So my girlfriend she was an English teacher. So I got in there with the Grammarly stuff and whittled it down. She got in there with her own experience, Grammarly aside, and did her thing. I went back on and we kept taking turns. So I got the Grammarly down to 50 errors. And she was satisfied with the outcome. We had a professional reviewer take it apart, and they found 4 errors, which meant 2 periods, a quotation mark, and a word. And I go,
awesome.
Yes. I'm like, that was great. So we did something right, and I was very pleased because, again, it was my first book.
Right.
Many times what I've heard people say, the first book, many times it doesn't have real high expectation. And then the second book comes off the success of the first. So I'm not like that. I want it to be successful, regardless if it was my first or my 100th book, And it's certainly, I certainly feel that way. It's gone really well,
Well, you sound like the type of man that when you make a determination to do something, you're not only going to do it, but you're going to do it right.
Right.
That's how you're coming across, which is excellent. You have to be like that for an author, Yeah.
And again, when I started writing was January 2020. So COVID was just around the corner, and the fitness facility I work in closed down, which gave me more reason to write more every single day. And then we opened back up, and then I just kept writing and editing as we went, and the rest is history. And it came out last April 2021 on Amazon. And I was very pleased. I go, look, it's my book's on Amazon, like it was something new, which it was, so it's pretty neat. So I think if anybody goes on to Amazon itself, hit that first button on the cover and it lets you read a few pages. They understand what it is that the book is about and so forth. And then some of the editorial reviews and some of the other reviews in the book that people have written to me, and it's been pretty much all 5-star reviews. So I'm very, very pleased, and I don't know what to say sometimes.
Oh wow! Now let's talk about writing for a minute. As a kid, did you write, or did you just, as an adult, decide I'm going to write a book?
Yeah, even I gave one of my books to my English teacher from many years ago. And she said, you had problem with your editing many years ago. How did the book come out? I said, Joan edited the book.
Oh.
So she said, well, I'll read it. I said, thank you. I wrote it to her. She got the very first book when it came out. And she was my English teacher in 1973. So,
wow.
Yes, it was great.
I don't even know who my English teacher was.
They probably her and her husband live about 5 miles from me. So we sought her out, and she came out. She was, oh my God, and gave me a big hug. And I go, I have a book for you. And I wrote it. It's my, she's like, oh my God. So she was in tears. It was great.
Wow. Let's talk about this. How can somebody reach you? Where can they find you? Website, email?
On Facebook. Goodreads, I'm on there. LinkedIn, there quite a bit. typically people have been reaching out to see if I have any books here at the house that they can buy and I can autograph them and mail them off. So I do keep a supply here at the house. And so that's worked out well too. Facebook has worked out really well for people that are really interested in the book and so forth. And I'll tell a brief story here. I grew up in New York, left there in 1967, and a gentleman about 3 months ago bought a book and he said, Tom, I bought your book. I haven't talked to that guy in 54 years.
Oh, good grief.
All of a sudden, the neighborhood I used to live in was a domino effect, that people were buying the book. And they said, you're the most popular person here in New York. It's super. It was wonderful to reacquaint myself with these people 50 years ago.
Yeah, sounds like it. Amazing.
So a lot of amazing things like that I'm really pleased with, So,
All right, one last question here. How would you, as an author, number one, you experience phenomenal success right now. What advice would you give new aspiring authors?
Okay. First, I don't do an outline. People say, oh, you got to do an outline and all this stuff. Just start writing. Just get a pad of paper or get on the computer and start writing. You can make sense of it later. Tell your story. Everybody has a story. Just start typing your story. At age 5, I did this, and all of a sudden you're in your present years. All the special things. Then you can say, how can I make this exciting to the reader? So you may have to write in a different way to make it exciting for the reader. But I tell them, just start writing. And that's what was told to me. I had about 6 people say, why don't you write a book? And I said, what do I know about writing a book? Again, this was only 2 years ago. What do I know about writing a book? They go, well, you've been to all these countries protecting people. Just write your stories. I go, okay. And I sat down and just started typing. And people go, yeah, but you have to have this outline and the table and all. No, you don't. Just start writing. You can do that stuff later, So that's how I did it. And I was shocked. Really.
You're shocked. Well, I kind of actually want to know something else. In the beginning of this interview, you mentioned several people that you worked with, who, by the way, I'm totally jealous that you got to work with Elton John. I mean, that's my hero. I love Elton John.
Great guy. Great
Oh my God. So I'm so jealous there. And then, I'm from New Orleans, and of course, Britney Spears is from Kentwood,
Right.
And so I would, I've met her, and she's really really very nice young lady. I mean,
right. Yes.
I mean, she really is. She's gotten hard knocks, but I'm glad to see your life getting back. So did you have, having worked with her so closely before, how did you feel about all this Free Britney stuff that was happening?
Well, I worked with her in the year 2000. So back then, everything was pretty cool. It was nice. I enjoyed working with her. Saw her mother and her daughter and her sister Jamie Lynn, and everything was fine. Everything was good. But to see all this stuff now, present day, I felt really bad for her. I mean, I don't.
Did you reach out to her just to say, hey, I'm thinking about you, girl?
So the people I work for, when the job comes to an end and they pick up somebody else based on like my experiences working with not only the entertainers but high-end corporate people, a year for Bill Gates, and that worked out really well too. I can shift back and forth. So I don't, it's not important that I can just reach out to them and say, hey, it's Tom. I wasn't so much as a friend, but as their protector, they can rely on me and not, I don't get involved with the Inquirer stuff and all that. I have a job and I'm a professional. And even in the book, it just tells about some of the jobs I did for these people, not here's all the back stuff. It's a real book about my story, not their story.
Do you want to share one anecdote from your book with us?
I think the biggest thing that is a takeaway from my book is just give life the best version of yourself, and everything that you do. And that's what I did, not only writing the book, but in working with the people that I've worked with. I gave them the best version of who I am and what I'm going to do for them. And I think that's probably the biggest thing I could probably say to people. And live a life of integrity. It's good, and that's kind of what I tell a lot of my students or people that want to get into the industry too. Don't be starstruck and all that stuff. You get a job, do the job, and then shake hands at the end of the day and say, thank you very much for allowing me to work for you. That's where I'm at.
So you're still protecting celebrities?
I am still working, yes.
Okay, I'm not even going to ask you who, because I know that can be very confidential right now. So
That's right. Yes.
I understand. Yeah. No, I get it. Trust me, I get it.
Right.
And
So,
number one, I want to thank you for coming on to my show today. I mean,
yes.
I could probably sit here and talk to you like 3 hours,
Right.
but unfortunately, we'd lose our audience by then. But your book, Hiding in Plain Sight, I do recommend for people to get a hold of. And we're not talking how to learn how to be a celebrity, security guard or anything like that. It's actually, you're learning how to live a integrity life, right?
Right. That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah. A life of meaning, a life of joy, and in there again, I will say that, I saw my parents to their last days. So in between working, I was with both of them, and they both passed close to each other, 2 months apart, and they had been friends for 70 years.
Wow.
And I took so much pride in the fact that I was there for them anytime. In fact, we shared a house together, so I could do just that. And every once in a while, I'd say, I got to go away, but I'll be back, and I have some siblings and so forth. So, and they relied on me, and I was that cornerstone for them, if you will. So very, very pleased as to what I could do for them.
Well, that's very admirable of you. Now, then we're going to close off here. Do you have an expected target date for your next book, your fiction book, I should say?
I'm going to say June. Okay. We're in late January now, and I want to get it really looking good. Good cover. You judge a book by its cover many times, and when people start reading it, it's like my first book. I can't put it down, Tom. It's full of adventure. It's full of what's that type of book. But this time it's a fiction. It's my own creativity of these characters, and I interweave some things that really happened, maybe a terrorist incident or something. But these people were involved with it somehow, And
I call that faction.
Yeah, faction, right?
Based off a fact, but we took the liberty to make it fiction.
Right. Yeah. So yeah. I got a number of things in the book with that, but I would like to say June or before, and we'll be working diligently to get that done. So I'll reach out to you, and
that's why I say I hope you come back and we can talk about your next book, because I want to get into that one for sure.
That's right. Yes. So I'm really pleased that we were able to connect today and talk about the book a little bit and stuff. So
absolutely, you've been a delight. And again, I want to thank you for coming on to Dr. Mill's Message, and get a hold of the book, readers, for Hiding in Plain Sight. It's not going to be what you thought it's going to be. It's going to be better than what you thought it's going to be. Again, thank you, Tom.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.